But it sounds like Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons have come to an agreement. But the interesting part of the article was that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have not spoken with Micah Parsons' agent, David Mulugheta. If that name sounds familiar to people, David Mulugheta is one of the NFL super agents, represents like all the big name like defensive backs and defensive players. I believe he represents like Jalen Ramsey. I believe he represents also a couple of quarterbacks as well. Like he's brokering big time deals. He's one of the preeminent agents in the game, and he also represents one Micah Parsons. And there's been no contact, as Bill puts in the chat. He represents Justin Fields. He got him paid with the Jets, so he must be doing a pretty damn good job, because I don't know what film he showed the Jets to get Justin Fields paid that money, but he did that nonetheless. But there's been no contact between Jerry Jones and David Mulugheta, and Jerry Jones went out and said that the agent is not a concern here. I don't know his name, is what he said when speaking to the media earlier today. Now, of course, because, Micah Parsons, probably one of the most online athletes that we have currently in 2025, he quote tweets Clarence Hill's tweet and says that Clarence Hill was alluding to the disrespect that Jerry Jones had for David Mulugheta. Parsons says, facts, David is the best, and I will not be doing any deal without David Mulugheta involved. Like anyone with good sense, I hired experts for a reason. There is no one I trust more when it comes to negotiating contracts than David. There will be no back doors in this contract negotiation. So I don't know why Jerry Jones decided to say, I don't even know his name. I'm sure he does know his name. But here's where the Cowboys sit with Micah Parsons and this potential mega deal, which they are willing to give him the highest paid non-quarterback contract in league history. PJ, how do you make sense of everything that's going on down in Dallas, as I think we're headed towards another interesting negotiation with a Cowboys star player and the Cowboys front office?
Femi, I hate this for you. I think the Cowboys need to trade Micah Parsons. I think they need.
Oh no!
Yeah, Femi, they do. They need the full reset. You obviously can't get rid of Dak. You're stuck with him. It is what it is. But you can't. This current roster, man, the Cowboys, Jerry, this is how he's always operated. I know he can't help it. He loves drafting his players and then re-signing his players. We know Dallas really isn't very aggressive when it comes to trades or when it comes to getting guys in free agency. But Micah's like the piece that really can help you moving forward. I mean, you can get multiple draft picks for him. You can go out and get another guy. And even though he's a great player, he's arguably one of the best players in the NFL, one of the best defensive ends in football, if not the best. I mean, you would know better than me, Femi, being a Cowboys fan, but just from an outside perspective, it feels like the Cowboys are just stuck. And even if, it's really all about Dak. I mean, that's what kills you, is they're paying him to be Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Josh, and we know he's just not that. Dak's a good quarterback, but he certainly needs help, and they're paying him to be one of the top guys in the league. And now that they're stuck with him, it's like, all right, you got all this money tied to him. You have all this money tied to CeeDee Lamb. You have all this money now, it looks like, tied to Micah Parsons. I mean, Femi, they have nowhere left to turn. They have to be the Eagles, and they have to just knock out the draft every year. They got to kill it in the draft. They're putting all their chips in the draft. Now, obviously, they can pick up guys here and there in free agency, and maybe they can strike gold on a couple guys in on cheap deals and stuff. But, I mean, like as a franchise, this is what you want. You want to draft players that you can sign when their rookie deals are done. That, to me, determines, like, that was a great draft pick if you re-sign that guy when his second contract is up. But also, I mean, when you give out contracts as big as Dallas is giving out to all these superstar players, you got to make sure that those guys help you contribute to a Super Bowl every year, compete for a Super Bowl, and that you also leave some room to bring in some other pieces that can help you win as well. And it just, sounds like whatever this number ends up being for Micah, I mean, it's going to be record-breaking. They obviously are paying Dak, CeeDee a bunch of money. So, look, Femi, I know it's not the popular choice. I know he's one of the better players. I know at this point, Dallas is probably too far into it where they really can't trade Micah. But I think that's what I would do. I mean, let's be honest. With Jaden Daniels in Washington and with the Eagles roster as good as it is, like, they're not going anywhere. So why not just press the reset button, save some money, trade away Micah, get a king's ransom. Dallas already wants to build through the draft to begin with, so now you're just giving yourself more ammo to do that. I would trade Micah Parsons. That's what I would do if I were Dallas. It sounds like that's not how you would feel. Like you're excited that
No, I don't feel that way, PJ. Not at all.
No, you don't feel that way?
I do not feel that. I do not feel that way. No.
Okay.
And in fact, it's every time you reiterate that they should trade him, like a part of me inside just crumbles a little bit.
Why?
Like,
Femi, they're not going. They're not going anywhere with him.
They're not going anywhere, and I hear you on that front. And the reason why the Cowboys are here is because of past mistakes. But my thing is that don't let past mistakes make you into making another big time mistake. Like I think Micah Parsons trading him would be a big time mistake because, like, yeah, you said you can get assets and first round picks to do what? To then hopefully get a player of Micah Parsons' caliber in the draft. You already have him. You already have Micah Parsons. He's already like one of the elite players, like not just great players, elite players in the NFL. Now, I think the mistakes that were made were paying Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Like those guys, I'd have said goodbye to. Like CeeDee Lamb, like I think he's a tremendous wide receiver. Like we can find wide receivers. Dak Prescott, good quarterback. I can find another quarterback as good as Dak Prescott. You could go decades without finding a pass rusher as good as Micah Parsons. Like that's how good he is. Like he's up there with Myles Garrett and those guys. And like, yeah, like those players don't determine whether you're going to win or lose because we just saw the Cleveland Browns win 3 games with Myles Garrett. But those are foundational, like Hall of Fame level players. Those guys are not in every single NFL draft. We're all raving about Abdul Carter. Like the chances of him being as good as Micah Parsons, pretty slim. They're pretty slim, and he's going to go in the top 5. So, like, that's where, like, at a premium position, an elite player, I cannot trade that guy. And the problem is that they paid these other guys elite, big-time money, and especially in the case of the quarterback, he's not really elite. So that's the issue for the Dallas Cowboys. But Jerry had this to say. Jerry said this when he was asked about the contract situation because, of course, Jerry Jones, at the league meeting, he's talking. He said, quote, "I don't view it as urgent at all." And then he said on waiting to pay Micah Parsons, quote, "I'd rather pay more and get it right." I'm not sure what he's looking to get right. I think we all see that Micah Parsons is an elite player. Like there's no more evaluation going on. But Jerry Jones seems like he's not in a hurry. But then again, it sounds like the two sides, Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons, have at least agreed on some kind of parameters for this contract. But I hear you. I understand. And on the premise, like on the surface, it feels like it's a move that would serve the Cowboys well to get the war chest of draft picks. I just don't think that you're ever going to find a player to this caliber like Micah Parsons. And yeah, like maybe like they're going to be stuck here, but I'd rather have Micah Parsons and try to figure it out than to sort of like trade him away. Then now wonder, are we ever going to get a good pass rusher? Like that to me is where I cannot get there. Like I value pass rush way too much to give up a premium. Like I'll trade CeeDee Lamb tomorrow. Like I'll do that. Like, you want to give me 2 first-round picks for CeeDee Lamb? Great. Where do I sign off? Let's do it. Parsons, no, we're not doing it there. He impacts the game too much for me to give him up. But with that said, PJ, Cowboys win total at 7.5. You have been on the record earlier this offseason saying that you believe this season will be a buy low season on the Dallas Cowboys. And I can't remember the last time their win total was this low. Dak Prescott, he's back healthy. Brian Schottenheimer, big question mark, the head coach. You going over, you going under, -110 each way over at BetMGM.
Oh, I'm going over on Dallas. Femi, I'm taking the over win total. I think I'm betting Dallas to make the playoffs as well. I don't know if we have that number. I don't know if those markets have dropped yet for teams to miss playoffs. It's definitely going to be a plus number that we know. Probably going to be close to like +180, +200. Definitely looking forward to that. So I'm looking at Dallas's opponents for the upcoming season for 2025. Obviously, we know NFC East. They got to play Philadelphia, Washington, New York twice a year. They also are going to get the NFC North. So they're home against Green Bay, Minnesota. They're at Chicago and at Detroit. They have to play the AFC West this year. They do get Kansas City and the Chargers at home, though. So the 2 best teams in that division, they're going to get in Dallas. They'll get Vegas and Denver on the road as well. And then the other AFC opponent they're going to get this year, it looks like, is the Jets. They're going to be at the Jets as well, which is obviously a trip they're very familiar with, playing at MetLife when they take on the Giants every single year. So what's interesting about Dallas, Femi, is every year, obviously, Dallas is always a team that everybody circles on their schedule, right? It's Dallas. You know that when you go play there, it's going to be a nationally televised game most likely. You know when they come to your place, there's going to be a bunch of Cowboys fans there. It's going to be a good environment, whatever it may be. For the first time in forever, I think people might come into like Cowboys week when they play them like almost overlooking Dallas a little bit. You know, like they could be viewed as like a team where people maybe aren't taking them as seriously, right? Like if
Cowboys
you're
are a sleepy spot?
I think there might be a sleepy spot, Femi. I think they might be. Like, if you're Detroit, right? If you're Detroit, and obviously you're playing a first-place schedule this year, and let's say the schedule makers give them, you know, Minnesota, Green Bay, San Francisco, and then Dallas after that. Now, I know because of how they got screwed out of that 2-point conversion a couple years ago, like there might always be a spot there for Dallas where Detroit always wants to kind of stick it to them, but I kind of do think that they might be a little bit of a sleepy spot. And again, Femi, just the way that I am, being a contrarian bettor, like when I see everybody hate on something, and I have not seen many positive thoughts on the Brian Schottenheimer hire. Like there are not a lot of people that are like, "Ooh, I like this hire a lot for Dallas." Like they found something with Schotty. Like they're going to be a double-digit win. Nobody said anything positive about this team. Dak's coming back from injury. We were just talking about the cap situation. Like, it looks like they're going to reach a deal with Micah, so they're paying a boatload of money to 3 guys with Dak, Micah, and CD. I kind of like the buy low, Femi. Look, I think Jaden Daniels is tremendous. I think Washington's going to be good for the next, 5, 6, whatever many years. But now they got a target on their back, right? Going from the team that they were trying to prove themselves to everybody, now they're one of the teams that people are gunning for. Obviously, Philadelphia is trying to repeat. Again, 7.5 wins. Dallas, 8 wins we need out of them, 9 wins. I think that's a good bet. So I'm willing to buy in on Dallas. I like when we get teams that obviously are thought of year after year to kind of be like playoff perennial teams, win the division, always thought highly of, and then nobody really thinks anything of them going into a season, and they tend to play pretty well. So I am a believer in your Cowboys. I like the over 7.5.